Alrighty, welcome to episode 250 of Backpacking America. We're so close to 300. I can't believe it. Um, this episode, I wanted to talk about, and I talked about this a little while ago, but I really wanted to narrow in on it just for a few minutes. Um, I wanted to talk about traditional religion and its alternatives. So, for me personally, like I believe that, that there's a lot of people believe in traditional religions, right? They believe in Catholicism, Christianity, um Christianity and then Catholicism is a subsect, and then Islam and its subsects and Judaism and its subsects and so on and so forth. But what is the alternative? Now, I know some people are going to think I'm going to say, "Oh, well, Buddhism." My theory of alternative spirituality is forging a personal relationship with God, praying to those in your family. For me, I pray to Jesus too. Um, and then using other means to get advice from spirit guides and such. For me, like I used to do tarot reading, and then there was some just like crazy experiences that I had in the past with reading where I just kind of felt like I should stop doing it for a little bit. But I used to use tarot reading a lot to just get advice or guidance or just to see what was going on. And I also, what I still do to this day is I look for angel numbers. So, why do I do these things, right? Well, when I was growing up, I went to a Catholic elementary school until about third grade. And that really ruined the traditional religious connection with God that so many people do foster and maintain. So for me, I had a hard time setting foot in a church for years after that, almost a decade after that. And even just having like a belief in God was difficult for me until I was in maybe like college. And that was when I was just like, I'd say like, oh, I believe in a higher power, like what all the white girls would say. But I do believe in a God. In God, but I just don't subscribe to like a traditional religious um aspect. It is obviously Christian and Catholic influenced, my way of thinking, because that's how I was brought up. I believe Jesus Christ. I believe in, God in the Christian sense, but I don't hold the traditions to high regard. I don't believe in an organized church. Jesus didn't believe in an organized church. Church could just be held within yourself, or it could be held with your friends and your family in a room of your house. Church doesn't have to be the Catholic Church. It doesn't have to have a pope. Church is really just a place where you can practice gratitude, community, and thanks. Well, gratitude, the same thing, but gratitude, community, and solace, and healing safely. It could be in your comfort of your own home. It could be in your friend's home. I don't, subscribe to a lot of the stuff where it's like, abortion bad or all these other things. But like, my connection is more like, hey, man, I'm grateful for being alive today, being able to see another sunset and being given these opportunities and the ability to work towards becoming my best self. And prayer, praying directly to God is much more therapeutic to me than sitting in church and singing homilies and doing all these other things. And to me, it's more of a personal thing where I don't even really need to do the sign of the cross all the time. I could just kind of think to God and be like, thank you for this. I really appreciate, getting a new client today or being in good health today. I'm gonna go celebrate and go get a cup of coffee and sit by the water. Like, thank you. Or, just sitting there peacefully admiring my surroundings that was created by a higher power than us. It's not just the soulless explanation of a spontaneous explosion. What caused the spontaneous explosion? You know, and what created the means for that explosion? I believe it was God. So, you know, I also don't believe that, evolution is a joke. I believe evolution is real. Evolution was created by God. So, um, but non-traditional religion is good because a lot of people feel alienated from the Catholic Church. It's one of the major religions in this country. A lot of people feel alienated from Judaism, from Islam to some extent. So, you know, finding a personal relationship with God and morals that, you know, fit your personage and society, um, is a good way to have that healthy spiritual connection because that's something we're missing in today's society is spiritual connection, but a true spiritual connection. I think we've been missing a true spiritual connection in this country much longer than the 1950s or the 1940s. I think we've been missing spiritual connection for quite some time, since the 1800s, because that's when the Industrial Revolution started and materialism became the god and money became God, not, you know, God himself. So I think, as we've destroyed the natural beauty of this country for industrialization and commercialization, um, we separated from spirituality, and instead spirituality became cult like. It became society. It became a reinforcement of society. You go to church because you have to go to church. You want to be a good neighbor. You want to look good in front of your peers. You're gonna go to church. You're gonna go to church. It looks good for you. Or you want people to think you're a morally upstanding person. So you're gonna go to church on Sunday. Maybe you'll lead a Bible group. That's how it was in the after World War II era of America society, the post-war era. So when it comes down to it, a lot of what should have been regular practice of religion and true faith became a show, just a show to show how you know good of an American you were, good of a family man you were, or a good Christian woman, for the sake of it, rather than actually genuinely believing in the teachings and having that religious feeling. So that's one of the problems that we have today is we have a lack of faith, and we also have a lack of community. Now, that's the one thing that you know the Catholic Church has, is that, or the synagogue or the temple has, is community. You know, it's going to be smaller if you pray by yourself or with a couple of close friends, more intimate, but it'll be smaller. You don't get to see the barber, you don't get to see the mailman, you don't get to see the grocery clerk lady. You get to see your friends and family. But in a way, you know, I feel that we don't need a church to have that community. I feel that people can choose another way to all congregate together, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a church. I think it's a great way. I think it's one of the best ways, but it doesn't have to be the church or the temple or the synagogue or the mosque. At least, for me, I want to find alternative spaces to that because I don't feel comfortable in a church anymore. From what I've endured when I was in Catholic school, really turned me off. And I kind of see through the bullshit of the Catholic Church. It's all politics at this point. I'd rather just focus on building a personal relationship with God, with myself, and maybe some of my friends. But it's been very difficult for me, especially when I was a young man. Well, I am a young man, but when I was like a teenager, um, because I had friends that were religious and they'd want me to come to church with them, and not religious like super like hardcore culty, but like borderline, and like they did it because they were just told to do it. Um, and I just didn't feel comfortable enough doing it because I just was like, oh, I guess I'm not. I guess I don't believe in God because I don't go to church. But that's actually incorrect, and that's a bad way to look at it. Because of course you believe in God, of course you believe in higher power. You just aren't comfortable in that setting because that setting to you doesn't enable you to feel close to God. Now, I will say that, there are some services where it does feel very nice to be around other people and you feel, the presence of God and all that high energy exerted from people in the pews. You feel that in the air. You do. I felt it a couple of times, and it was calming and it was relaxing, but I'd rather just pray on my own time and with myself or others and just have a genuine discussion about, what do these texts mean? What does this mean? How do you feel about this? So on and so forth. I feel like a lot of church is just dictated at you. It's a lot of praying at each other and not discussing. I like the discussion aspect of a service where it's like, hey, like, okay, we're gonna read this together and then we're gonna share our thoughts about it and our interpretations. I think that's a lot cooler than just, saying a homily, not knowing the words, mindlessly singing along and clapping, and then eating the wafer and drinking the wine and then calling it a day. I think sitting down, discussing and reading the text and learning about it And having that shared community, at a very intimate level, is a better way to pray. Maybe not the best way to build a community, but the best way to pray and find connection with God. I feel you can find community anywhere. I mean, I could set up shop at a coffee shop or a bar, and then now I have a bunch of new friends. At my gym, you know, I go there. I know everyone. That's my community. That's my people, man. Like I know everyone there. I have people that are my friends. I have people that are, acquaintances, and we all get along, and that's where we all congregate. The times that I go there every day and every week are the same times those people go every day and every week for the most part. And we all see each other, and it's like, oh, if you don't see someone for a while, you're like, oh, I wonder what happened to them. But it's kind of like that sense of camaraderie and community at my gym or at the coffee shop I go to that I would find at a church in the 1950s or the 60s. So that's kind of my thing is like with alternatives to it, finding ways to connect to God in a different way. I personally believe that connecting to God through individual prayer, um, reading scripture to yourself and with other friends, and simply enjoying the creations around you and saying, "Wow, this is so beautiful. Wow, this is great. I'm so glad I got to see this." Giving these affirmations of thanks and then praying in times of need or for times of thankfulness, that's connection to God directly. I think direct connection to God is the best way to build spirituality within yourself. And I think that sometimes using tools like rosary beads, tarot cards, um, crystals, and numbers, numerology, and directly praying to your ancestors that passed on, I think that's the best way forward for a lot of people. And I feel like that is the way that religion should move, where it's voluntary associations of people, learning about spirituality together rather than feeling compelled to go to church out of some responsibility to society instead of a responsibility to yourself and God. So that's just my little quick thing about alternative spirituality. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and all the other platforms out there by just typing in Backpacking America. I am everywhere, and I will be live again tomorrow on July 27th, 2023. Uh, at 6 p.m. I don't know why I put 2023, but yes, I'll be live tomorrow at 6 p.m. Again, everyone, Monday to Friday, 6 p.m., 5 days a week. Thank you again for listening, and